is. That is why I throw this particular buzzbait right here, is a chunk like that. Oh my gosh. Woo. This is a remake of one of my favorite buzzbaits. It's now made by Greenfish Tackle. I think it's called the Headbanger. It used to be called the Boogerman buzzbait, but they went out of business. Look at that. Oh, it catches big ones. What's going on, guys? This is Gene Jensen, and my last two fall transition videos, one was about where to find them, the other one was about what lures to fish. Well, this is the one about how to fish the fall transition in a day, how to move throughout the day or progress throughout the day, changing baits and things like that, and go to these places that I talked about in the first video and actually catch fish. I've already caught one good one this morning, one small one, and lost a big, I guess it was a big fish, seemed like about 2 or 3 pounds. Just totally blew up on my buzzbait and totally missed it. But anyway, stay tuned. We'll jump into the video in just a second. All right, so I pulled into this pocket and I stood up, I grabbed my spinnerbait rod, I went to make a cast, and I looked around, I was like, nope. I cut the spinnerbait off, put a buzzbait on, and this is actually a Greenfish Tackle Headbanger. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, it's a remake of one of my favorite buzzbaits, which was a Boogerman buzzbait that they went out of business for some reason. But anyway, tied this on, and I ripped the skirt off, and I always put a Zoom horny toad, either white or black, onto the buzzbait. 5, 6, 7 casts into it, I get bit, catch a small one, and then 10, 15 casts later, I catch a big one, and it was a big one. And then I miss a big one misses my bait. So when you first start off in the fall, grab a buzzbait. I'm telling you, or a whopper plopper, but grab something that makes a ton of noise. And that's what's so nice about this one is the blade hits the head. You can see where it's knocked the paint off of the head. The blade hits the head. It makes a ton of noise. And even over top of this submerged hydrilla, the bass just annihilate it. And I'm not fishing in the hydrilla, I'm fishing over top of it. I got a nice grass mat right here behind me, which might be a little bit better, or might be better later on in the day when the sun comes out. But I've located a spot that's got a good concentration of good quality fish. So I'm gonna fish through here really fast with the buzzbait, which I already have. Then I'm gonna go to the next pocket. Then I'm gonna go to the next pocket. Then I'm gonna go to the next pocket until the sun gets up on the water. Now we got cloud cover today. Hopefully, if that cloud cover stays in, this buzzbait bite will stay up the whole entire until the sun comes out, and which would be great. The sun will keep the fish out of the grass, or out of the grass mats. Anyway, let's talk about what happens kind of during the rest of the day and what kind of my decisions would be. Now, I've got fish in the pockets. I know that. So I'm gonna fish pocket to pocket to pocket. Just like in the video I talked about where they're located. They're always located, or the first place they move up in the fall is they move into these pockets with the bait fish. And so for the rest of the day, or at least until I'm proven wrong, the sun comes up, maybe the wind changes, maybe the weather changes, and it pushes things, makes things different. But I assume that if I pull into a pocket and I look around and I look on my fish finder and I see bait fish, there's going to be bass in those pockets. Specifically, the pockets that are close to these creek arms are typically where I start. Okay, whew, that's a lot to think about, isn't it? But for right now, right now that I have low light conditions, basically going to stay in a little bit deeper water, 5, 6, 7, 8 feet deeper water, and just run this buzzbait up around this grass until things change. Maybe a spinnerbait, maybe something like that. But I think a buzzbait's gonna wreck them, at least for the first few hours of the day. All right, so guys, this is a prime example of what I look for, not only early fall, but all through the fall. The further back in the creeks I get and things like that, is I look for a flat that's got cover in it, like scattered cover. And I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. See if you guys can see this. All right, so right here we got a lot of scattered grass that's submerged under the water. And I mean, it's all over this giant flat. And a lot of you guys know where I'm at. I'm in Roseberry Creek, I think is what it's called. But it's all over this giant flat, and hardly anybody fishes it. Well, I guess they will now that I watched my video. But it's a prime example. It's got scattered cover, and I look for those places as prime spots to hold fish all during the fall. Whether it be the stick ups. I've been in places where the water was way down for a couple of years and it grew trees or little saplings, and then it came up and it killed the saplings, but the stems or the trunks of the saplings were still up, and it's just bang whatever, bang a square bill, bang a spinnerbait, whatever else up against it. Well, I grabbed a spinnerbait. The water clarity is really quite dirty. It's only about a foot and a half visibility. So I grabbed a Colorado bladed spinnerbait, and matter of fact, I'm going to make the skirts a little bit smaller. I don't like those long skirts on them. I know Booyah puts them on there, but I don't like them. So, but anyway, little spinnerbait, and I'm just working it through this grass. And the reason I chose a spinnerbait over a lipless crank or a square bill or a lipless crankbait is because of the grass. The spinnerbait is going to come through it a whole lot better. But the goal is just to fan cast and cover this whole flat, because these fish with the cloud cover the way it is right now are going to be scattered all over this flat. And every time you get it hung in some grass, you just give it a good jerk, and it'll rip out of that grass, especially this coontail. But just cover the water, cover it with a spinnerbait. If it's wood, I like a square bill. I might even grab a chatterbait with this. Chatterbait might not be a bad thing at all to bring through this grass. I just like a spinnerbait with this, and with the stained water, I gone with chartreuse and a Colorado blade, but you do run the risk of getting hung up in the grass a lot. So I might switch to a chatterbait. But prime example, plenty of area. There's bait fish in the area. There's plenty of cover for them, plenty of area for them to hide, and they're just going to hang out here all day long and all fall. And it's just a matter of figuring out what kind of a mood they're in and how to catch them. All right, so as the day progresses, as the sun comes on the water, the bass are going to seek hiding spots. They're still going to stay shallow. They're not going to move too deep. They might move deep into if there's no grass and no shade, but you found them in that pocket, they may move into the deeper part of the pocket, like straight down the center or off into any drops. They may move out into the mouth of it if it's a smaller pocket. They may move off to the points, but they're going to stay fairly shallow. They're not going to want to go too deep. And so I'm still gonna, get up there and try to find the cover that they're hiding in or stuff like that throughout the rest of the day, and slow down a little bit sometimes. But if there's plenty of cover for them, the best thing to do is just cover that water with a moving bait, something that you can bang up against that cover. Depending on the cover, a square bill would be good for wood. A swimming worm or swim jig would be good for grass. It just all depends. Spinner baits, that kind of stuff. And I fished that for as long as I could. I want to fish moving baits or reaction style baits. And I really want to catch another fish, so I'm going to stop talking for a minute. Just give me a second. I'll get back to it. All right, so what I'm doing right now is just kind of running the bank. Let me turn the camera and show you guys what I'm looking at. And I don't think there's any fish along here, but I'm going to throw it just because it looks good. Or I'm going to fish it just because it looks good. But we got lay down trees. I don't know what the grass is under the water. Hopefully this buzzbait doesn't get buried in it. But I mean, you see stuff like that, you gotta fish it. I mean, you can't just buzz, you know, go by it and not even throw something at it. It just looks too good. Of course, once the sun comes up, they may be in those trees. They may get up underneath the shade of that tree. Now, that's kind of a neat little deal. I don't know if you guys can see this tree. The trunk is completely out of the water except for that front end. If that trunk was laying in the water, it would be a lot better tree. The big bass love to hang out underneath that trunk. If that trunk is laying on the bottom under the water, probably not a really good tree to fish, unless it's got a lot of limbs and stuff, and then you just fish the limbs. But if that tree is in the water but that trunk is off the ground, I'm going to fish that entire tree, the whole trunk of that tree, just because that, I mean, that's big bass will hang right up underneath that trunk, and it's just a dynamite spot. All right, so I went up to the next pocket over, didn't catch anything. There wasn't really a whole lot of matted hydrilla in there, and I think that may be something I need to think about. Is that maybe they come out with this low light condition, they come out of that hydrilla and they feed, and then when the sun comes out, they get back into that hydrilla, and then you're catching them on frogs and punching and stuff like that. So that's my thought. So I came out of that pocket, came around here, and I'm at the point entering into this creek. A lot of you guys will recognize this at Fish Gunnersville. But like I said, I'm just trying to find fish or find a pattern or find something. But I came and I'm at that very first point. This is one of the first places those fish come into contact, the ones that will move back the creek into the creek and follow the bait fish all the way to the back later on in the fall. They come up and they hang out on the, oops, there's one right there. They hang out on these points, and they're just following bait fish. It's a nice keeper. So I stopped here. There's a few docks, a little bit of grass. Man, he's a feisty one. Oh, he's bigger than I thought he was. Come on. Look at that fish. Not bad. Not bad at all. Oop, let's hit my button. You know what? Nah, we'll take a picture of a bigger one than that. So you come up and you fish these points, and then I'm gonna fish these docks, and I'm gonna show them to you in a second as soon as I get my bait untangled. How in the world did I do that? There we go. All right, so look, he came off of this point right here. And then I got docks, but I'm more concentrated on the edge of this grass. I'm gonna fish those docks just to see, and if there's no fish out in front of those docks or along the edges, and there weren't any on those docks that were behind my shoulder over there, then I'm gonna just leave docks alone until the sun gets up really good later, maybe later on in the afternoon. But I'm gonna concentrate on the outside edges of this grass. Now, as for right now on Gunnersville, we are at the very, very earliest part of the fall transition. It was 90 something degrees last week and the week before, maybe even 100, but it was in the 90s. Water temperature was in the mid 80s for the last several weeks. And so this is actually the third cool night that they've had. The water temperature is 76. It'll be 80 by the middle of the day. I really don't think that I think the later in the day it'll be more like a summer pattern. I'm going to have to pull out just a little bit deeper. I'm going to have to do, you know, drag worms and stuff like that. I think that they'll still be in the area, but they're going to get deep into this cover, deep into the mats, and then maybe even find some out deep on the ledges. But that's not what we're talking about in this video. So this afternoon, I'll just talk you through what they're going to be doing during the actual fall transition. Like I said, we are early in it here on Gunnersville. Next week and the week after are going to be unbelievable, I hope. All right, so let me see if I can explain this real quick. There's the point that I caught that fish on, like right over there. Okay, so this point comes in all the way along to here, and then you've got the bank, straight bank right here. Okay, so you've actually got a pocket right here. It doesn't look like much of one. Even on the map, it doesn't look like much of one. But it's a corral that these bass are going to corral these bait fish in. And there's actually 2 balls of bait fish sitting right on top of this pocket. But this is one of those spots that I'm going to check during this time of the year, all the way back to the back of the creek. As the fish move back, they're going to corral bait fish into these spots, and they're going to be ambushing them. And I expect them to be, it's real shallow right there. It's probably about a foot and a half right there. But I expect them to be right out here in the 2.5, a little bit darker water, so they can push those bait fish up against that grass or whatever, up into that shallow water, and they can ambush them. So I expect them to be hanging out back here. So I'll flip to them, I'll throw whatever at them, but that's just kind of where I expect them to be. And if they're up feeding, they're going to be up shallower. All right, so the question might pop up from one of you guys, well, what if my lake doesn't have grass or hydrilla or stuff like Guntersville? Points and pockets. What if it has grass? Points and pockets. Still, fish the points and pockets, fish what you've got there, but they're gonna be in those pockets, and they're gonna be on those points and on the inside turns of those points. So points and pockets, no matter where you are, no matter what you cover, if you've got 0 cover, still the structure of points and pockets is gonna be what holds the fish, or where they're gonna be anyway. So don't worry about not having grass. It's no big deal. Guntersville, we're lucky. Tennessee River actually lets grass grow in their lakes, and they don't try to kill it all the time. Of course, this little pocket was sprayed last year, but doesn't change anything. Points and pockets. Another key thing to think about when the sun's coming up on a sunny day, there's no clouds, nothing to nothing to keep it at low light conditions. The bass, the shallow bass, are going to stay in the shade as long as they possibly can. So once the sun starts to get up, say 9:30 in the morning, all the way up till noon, you want to start looking for those shade spots. You want to fish the east side, east banks, where there's plenty of shade. And the smaller and smaller that shade the more likely let me say that again. The smaller and smaller the shade gets, the more likely it is to concentrate the bass into a smaller area. So work that shade, especially when you don't have docks and you don't have grass for them to hide in. Work that shade as long as you possibly can. So when the sun hits the water, things always change. No matter what time of the year it is, things change. So as it starts to come out, as the clouds burn away, the fish are going to seek shade. Some people say it's because they don't have eyelids and all this other. I think it's because they want to sit back in there and they want to be safe, and they want to be able to ambush prey, pull out and ambush prey right along, and it just helps them to hide from what they want to eat. That's my thought. I've seen too many bass shallow feeding and out of the shade during sunny days to believe that they always are going to go hide somewhere when the sun comes out. They just want a place to ambush prey. And so sun comes out, they tuck in somewhere. They search that shade out. All right, so what I did is I went and I tied my spinnerbait onto a different rod. I just think that as the sun starts to poke through the clouds every once in a while, it's going to turn that buzzbait bite off. And I'm going to want to throw something similar, but different. You know what I'm saying? Still makes a lot of flash, still stays up pretty shallow. And a spinnerbait is fairly grassless. And so that's kind of why I chose it. I want to bang off of all the grass that I possibly can. My favorite kind of grass, or anything really, is I like a lot of stick-ups. I like grass that's thick on the bottom, but it has some stuff that comes up out of it. And milfoil and hydrilla have a habit of doing that. Several other types of grass in this area that I don't know how to identify, but I'm fishing this spinnerbait trying to bang onto all those little stems and stalks that stick up higher than everything else, and it knocks silt off of those off of those stems and stalks, and it really does attract the fish and get that reaction bite that I'm looking for. Man, this is a good mat. I'm gonna stop and frog fish it just for the heck of it, because it's good. All right, so basically, to fish the fall transition, early in the morning, you want to use some type of a top water, and a buzzbait is ideal. You can cover a lot of water with it, makes a lot of noise, catches big fish. It's one of those things. And yes, I do recommend that buzzbait, because over the years I have fished a ton of buzzbaits, and I love double-bladed buzzbaits. The guy that used to make my double-bladed buzzbait passed away years ago, so I'm out of those. And then that Boogerman buzzbait I found, and then they went out of business. But now that it's back, I'm telling you, I'm not sponsored by them, Greenfish. They are buddies of mine, but I'm telling you right now, that buzzbait is the real deal. Shameless plug. But anyway, so just hit those pockets first thing in the morning, and run that buzzbait around those pockets. The fish, try to figure out where those fish are hiding. Are they hiding in the deeper water, or are they up in the shallowest water? When I say deeper water, 3-4 feet, maybe 5 feet, or are they all the way up there in a foot of water? They have their backs out of the water. But and just fish that whole entire area, fish those pockets, move around to the points, cover water as fast as you can. When the sun comes out, slow down, throw like a spinnerbait or a crankbait, still cover water, but cover water a little bit slower, and kind of concentrate on that shade until that shade goes away, and then back out and start fishing super slow with flipping into bushes and flipping into cover and that kind of stuff. So that's fall transition in a nutshell, and that's what I'm going to be doing for the next week, maybe week and a half, and I really feel like this water is going to really cool down fast, because we had a really long summer. But I hope I can follow it well enough to make videos to where you guys can follow the videos and follow that transition all the way back to mid to late fall. But anyway, guys, like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water, go out and catch some fish, and have a great day. We'll see you.